Hello, everyone. My name is Jazzy, health fitness specialist here with Exos at Autodesk, and welcome to the afternoon stretch break. If anyone has anything they need stretched out today or any areas that are tight, go ahead and drop that in the chat box and we can work on stretching all of that out. If you were here earlier this morning, we did a lot of upper back stretches. Hopefully everyone's upper back is feeling so much better than it is now. I know mine is. All right, we got chest, lats, shoulders, and calves, and hip flexors. All right, we're doing everything today. So let's go ahead and get started then on the ground. So we are going to get in a nice quadruped position on our hands and our knees. And just to kind of warm up the hip flexors a little bit, let's just go ahead and do a couple quadruped rocks, okay? So we're gonna just go ahead and rock back until we start to feel that stretch in our hips, and then squeeze the glutes and come back up. So we're gonna go ahead and just do a few of those here, really making sure we're keeping our back nice and flat. Let's just go ahead and do two more here. And last one. Awesome. So from here, now that our hips are a little bit looser, let's go ahead and stretch out the chest and the shoulders a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to just sit in this kneeling position here, and we're going to take our hands and we're going to interlace our fingers behind our back. And from here, we're going to push our hands into the ground as we look up. So this is really going to help open up the chest, open up the shoulders, really pushing into the ground. We're going to get a slight arch in our back, but we don't want to be so far back that we're putting pressure on our spine. We're pushing into the ground and pulling apart a little bit with our hands to really get that good stretch. Breathing into the chest, really opening up. Look up as far as you can to the ceiling, and if you are starting to feel some pain there, you can go ahead and look straight ahead, but aiming that chin towards the ceiling. Nice, big deep breaths. And on your next exhale, we are going to bend forward, placing the forehead, chin, or cheek onto the ground in front of us, and our fingers are still interlaced directly above our shoulders here. This is going to help open up our chest and our shoulders a little bit more. If we've been sitting a lot today working on the computer, this is going to help open everything up. With each exhale, really relaxing those shoulders, relaxing the upper back. And one more big inhale. And on the exhale, go ahead and let your hands slowly fall to your sides. And from here, we're just going to hang out, really relaxing with each exhale, letting those shoulders fall closer and closer to the ground. Really relaxing here. And one more big inhale. And a long, slow exhale. And we are going to make our way up. And we're going to go ahead and go into a half kneeling stretch from here. So we're going to work a little bit on the hip flexors and the hamstring and the calf a little bit in this movement. So we're going to start off with a hip flexor stretch. So we want to make sure our pelvis is tucked, core is tight, back is flat. We're going to push our hips forward while squeezing the glute to the knee that is on the ground. Reaching that same arm up above head. So right now my right knee is on the ground, so my right knee is above my head. My right glute is squeezed. And we are going to now make this dynamic and go back into a hamstring stretch. If you really want to focus on feeling it in the calves, go ahead and point that toe as far as you can up towards the ceiling. Really feeling that all through the back of your leg. And we're going to go back into the hip flexor. So we're going to go ahead and do 3 of each. So we have 2 more each of the hip flexor and the hamstring. So we're squeezing the glutes, pushing the hips forward, Really feeling that front of the hip open up. And we're now going back into a hamstring, pointing that toe straight up in the air. Great job breathing into that tightness. And one more hip flexor. Squeeze the glutes, pelvis is tucked, core is tight. We're nice and tall here, pushing those hips forward. Breathing nice and deep into the belly, feeling the front of our hip expand with each breath. Breathing into the tightness here. And going back into hamstring. Pointing that toe straight up, feeling that pull all through the back of the leg. Feeling that stretch here. And we're gonna switch over to the other side. So I'm gonna place my left knee on the ground, right knee is up. And we're starting off with our hip flexor stretch. So we're making sure our pelvis is tucked, core is tight, back is flat. We're pushing those hips forward, squeezing the glute, and raising that arm above head. Same thing, really breathing into the belly, feeling the front of our hip here open up. And we're rocking back into that hamstring stretch. So toe is pointed up, feeling the stretch all the way through the back of our leg. The more our toes are flexed here, pointed towards the ceiling, we're going to feel that in your calves. And back into hip flexor. Squeezing that glute to tucking the pelvis in, keeping that stomach core nice and tight. We want to make sure we're not arching the back, bending back here. We want to be nice and tall through the chest. When we're raising our hand above our ear, we want to make sure our shoulders not touching our ear. We want our bicep to be right next to that ear. And back into hamstring. Pointing that toe towards the ceiling here, or the sky if you are lucky enough to be outside right now. And we're doing one more each way, hip flexor. Making sure our core is nice and tight, squeezing that glute. Breathing into the belly, feeling that stretch in our hip flexors, and back into hamstring. And pointing that toe as far up as we can. Feeling the pull all through the back of our leg. And we can go ahead and release. Awesome job, you guys. We have time for one more stretch here. We're going to do a nice piriformis stretch. So this is going to help complement that hip flexor stretch, really opening up the back of our hip here. So we're going to go ahead and make our way onto our backs. And we're going to cross one leg. So I'm going to cross my right leg, just like I'm sitting in a chair. So my right ankle is right above my left knee. And if that's a good stretch for you, you can go ahead and stay there. If you need a little bit more, you can go ahead and interlace your fingers and grab right behind the knee. And if you need a little more, you can go ahead and grab the front of your shin. But the goal here is to really pull your left knee, or the knee that you're hugging, towards your chest. And we should start to feel this stretch on the outside back of our hip, right around the glute muscle. So we're aiming to stretch out that piriformis. Sometimes, I know for me, my hip flexors will be super, super, super tight, and I'll stretch them out and roll it out and do whatever I can, and they'll still be tight. And then the minute I start to do this stretch, or I get the cross ball and start to roll out my piriformis, my hip flexor will release. So we need to make sure we're stretching out those antagonist muscles too, to help release those tighter muscles in the front. Breathing nice and deep here. We're going to do one more big inhale. And a nice long slow exhale. And we're going to place that left foot on the ground. and then the right foot, and we'll do the other side. So now we're crossing the left foot, left knee, or sorry, left ankle right above the right knee. And again, if that feels like a good stretch, you can go ahead and stay there. If you need a little bit more, go ahead and interlace your fingers and grab behind your knee. And if you still need a little more, go ahead and grab your shin, and we're pulling that knee towards our chest. Breathing into the tightness here. Nice, big, deep belly breaths. Really making sure we're nice and relaxed in that crossed leg so we can get the most out of this stretch. And we're going to do one big inhale. And a long, slow exhale. Let's go ahead and release that right foot back on the ground. And then the left foot. And we're going to make our way to standing. Take all the time you need. We don't want to get any head rushes after being on the ground. But that will conclude today's stretch break. Thank you all so much for coming. I'd love to see you all in here. I hope we feel all nice and stretched out and relaxed, ready to go for the rest of the afternoon. And don't forget, we are doing a Zen in 10. So don't forget to check this off of your list, or you can go ahead and watch any of the recordings that we have from any of our past stretch breaks up on our YouTube channel at any time of the day. And we do have our boot camp class with Luis tomorrow at 12 p.m. and another stretch break at 3 p.m. with Brittany tomorrow on Wednesday. So we hope to see you all there. And we do have the link to the sheet to track for Zen in 10 in the chat box. So go ahead and check that out. And I will see all of you tomorrow at boot camp at 12 p.m.